Hello everyone, myself Ravan, welcome to Code Beans, and in this video we will know about object-oriented programming. Before beginning to that, let's first understand about a keyword pass, which will be very helpful in understanding the OOPS concept. Now let's go to a terminal. Sometimes we want to write nothing inside the body of a particular syntax. It might be a function, or it might be a for loop, while loop, or even if else condition. I'll show you an example. Suppose we want to do comparison, but we don't know what do we want to write inside the body of this if statement. So in that case, we can write pass and it will not throw any error. And later on, this pass keyword is removed with the expressions that we want to put inside the if body in this particular example. Then the question arises, why do we use the pass keyword? Well, sometimes what happens is multiple developers are collaborating to write a particular piece of code, and nobody wants the other person to be waiting because their logic is still in development. So these keywords are used in those scenarios. Also, one more thing, in Python, you can write a single line comment like this. This is a single line comment, and you can write a multi-line comment like this, multi-line comment. Now this thing is settled. Let's move on to object-oriented programming. What is an object? An object is a unique instance of a data structure that is defined using a class. Now the question arises, what is a class? Well, a class is sort of a template in which you can define some methods and some variables which, when initialized to create an object, gets tied to it. Let me show you an example. Let's first create a simple class, CLASS. This is a keyword that we use to create a class. Then we give it a class name. Suppose the name is human. Now let's say this class contains a variable, let's say number of hands, and it is set to true. And suppose that's the only information that it has. Now how to create object from a class is, you simply type the class name and call it, and then you will get an object, object1. And using the object, you can call this variable. In this case, it is a class variable. Okay, so object1 dot number of hands, we can print it, and it should print the value 2. Similarly, we can create another object, let's say object2, and let's see what will happen. So here we can see it have printed the number 2 twice, that is both of the values are 2. Now let's do one thing. Let's first move this line out, and here we will update this class variables value to, let's say, 10. Now let's see, will these two print statements print the value 10 or 2? Here you can see it is printing 10. So that means when we update the class variables value, it get updated in the objects also. Now let's understand about instance variable. So basically, if a variable have something like this self dot, then it means it is tied to the object or the instance, and if it is not like that, then it means it is tied to the class, provided it is outside the methods. Okay, now let's quickly understand how to create one. So basically, let's make this instance variable self dot, and we made it 2. Now what we will do is we will update this object once this variable value to 10, and then we will check what will happen when we will try to again print these same two statements. So let's see. Let's clear and print. So what does it say? It says name error, self is not defined, because whenever you want to do initialization of the instance variable, there is something called a constructor, and you need to provide all the variables which you want as an instance variable inside that constructor method, or in Python it is called init method. How to do that? Let's check it. So basically what you have to do is you have to write a function with two underscores, init underscore, and then pass this keyword self. Now you have got yourself a instance variable. Save it. Now we will check it again. Let's clear the terminal and print. So the first value is 10 and second one is 2. Basically it means the object 1 is now having the number of hand value 10, but the object 2 is having the number of hand value 2, because now this particular variable number of hands is an instance variable, not a class variable. Now let's see how to write method in a class. So here we will write a very simple method which will just return this number of hand value. Return val is the name of that particular method, and here we will just return self dot number of hands. One thing to notice here is as soon as we create the object, this init or the constructor method gets executed, and there is this object have all of these self dot variables or instance variables allotted to it. Okay, so suppose now we want to call this particular method. How can we do that? We will just type the name of that object, then dot the name of the method, and call it. Let's put it in print so we can check the value also. Now I'll go to terminal. Let's clean it, and as you can see, now we are getting the value 2. Now let's go back. There is one more concept which is called inheritance. Well, inheritance, yes, the word might sound similar, inheritance of culture from your parents or from your country. So in classes also, one class can inherit the properties of another class. Let me show you. So let's say this is a class which have suppose variable, let's say ABC, which is set to 10. Okay, now you have another class which is, let's say, Asian, and the base class is human, which means that this Asians class inherit properties from the human class. Okay, and we will write the keyword pass here. That means in the Asian class we have not defined anything, but in the human class we have defined this variable ABC. Now let's see, can we access this variable ABC from the Asian class? So let's create an object Asians, and then let's try to access it. So I'll go to the terminal, let's clean it, and yes, we can access. Okay, similarly, if we have some methods here in the human class, which is a base class. So base class basically means the class from which you are inheriting, and the child class means the class which is inheriting it. So in this case, Asians is the child class and human is a base class. Okay, sometimes what happen is there are some particular, let's say, methods or variables which we want to restrict. Suppose we don't want, even if let's say inheritance happens, we don't want this abc variable to get inherited. So then what we can do is we can make it private. How can we make it private? We have to add two underscores. Then this is a private variable. Then it should now in this case throw an error when we want to access abc from the child class. Let's see. See, now we are having an attribute error. There is also another interesting concept which is called protected. So, this ABC, it was a public. When we added two underscores, it became private. Private means only accessible within the class, not to the child classes. And there is also a concept which is called protected. Protected means it can be accessed from the current class or the class which is the child class. So that is done by using a single underscore. Okay. Now because Asians is a child class of human, now we will be able to access ABC. Let's see. Let's clean it. And if you see, it will say type object Asians has no attribute ABC. So let's check why is it happening. Okay, now let's do this. We add underscore. We run the code and now it is running. Now some of you might be thinking, okay, so with one underscore it is working. With the two underscore, will it work? Let's check that also. Then I will tell you why does it happen. So if we have, let's say, two underscores and I add two underscores here as well and we run, then it will not run because two underscore means it is a private. So I think that part is clear because I think that was one of the issues which people faces, because they think if they add two underscore here and use two underscore they might be able to access it, which don't happen in Python. It's not like if I add a single underscore here and this, so it is getting printed, so I will add two underscore here to access something which have two underscore. It doesn't work like that. Okay, and why is it working with a single underscore? So the reason is very simple, because if you see, this Asians is a child class of human. Okay, and even if you don't have a underscore here, it will still be accessible. The reason is now it has become a public access modifier instead of being a private or protected access modifier. Now let's try one example in which we will access the method of a base class from the object of a child class. Let's say the first class is human and the method is data, suppose, and it is just printing hello. Now we have a second class. Let's say the class name itself is child and the base class is human and the class itself has nothing. It's, let's say, pass. Now we create an object of a child and we try to use this object to access this data. Now let's see what will happen. So let's first clear it. And if you see, the hello is getting printed. Why is it so? It's because it's not that just the variables get inherited, it's also the methods of the base class that gets inherited. Okay, so I think now inheritance is also clear. And with this, our course on fundamentals of Python programming is complete. I hope you will enjoy the new world of Python that you are coming into with the completion of this course, and will stay curious and keep on learning the new stuff and do the good thing. So now take care. Bye bye.